Welcome to the Mystical Musings with Friends podcast. Join us in these fun, consciousness-expanding episodes hosted by myself, Kimberley Leite, where we discuss the world of the mystical and how this world can enhance your life experience, along with spiritual teachers and leaders from around the world. Join us as we explore subjects including the ascension and oneness teachings, law of attraction, channeling, spiritual healing, psychic explorations, and various other journeys within the mystical, esoteric, and metaphysical realms. It is a journey behind the veil of our reality, and it's a journey of awakening to the powerful being that you truly are. Welcome everybody, and welcome to our next episode of Mystical Musings with Friends. So we are joined once again with friend Wendy Pierce, who is a channel and animal communicator. Hi Wendy, thanks for joining.
Hi Kimberly, thanks for having me.
So today's topic is going to be all about oneness. So what is oneness, and how do we connect to oneness, and how do we see oneness in our reality? Well, who we truly are is actually oneness. We are source manifested. We are one with all humans and all living beings. But because we as a collective are attached to duality consciousness, we do not actually perceive it. But that's just because this paradigm of duality is basically an illusion of physical reality. But because we are in the Great Awakening, this dimension of duality, we're actually moving through that more into oneness remembrance. So we are already one, we are already source manifested, we are already enlightened, and we are on the pathway just to remember this for ourselves. And this is why this year has been very, let's just say, interesting, depending on how you look at it. Some people see it as quite intense and as wanted, and some people see it as an exciting time. So it depends on your perspective. But with all the events that has occurred, it's actually bringing us more to oneness remembrance. And so as we continue to do this inner work, do our shadow work, we then start to remember who we truly are. The powerful, limitless beings that we have always been, and that we are one with all that is. So Wendy, in your experiences, how, especially with you, because you do, channel and communicate with animals, what's your take on oneness?
Wow, that's a big question, and you covered it so nicely. Everything you said was it was perfect. And what really hit me one day was when I actually realized that all that is not complete without me. And that kind of it made it click for me, the oneness. It's like all that is, that's everything. Without each individual little component, it's not complete. And so and a broad picture, wrapping my head around oneness, I'm a God, what, all of that kind of stuff that comes through. And then just realizing that we are master creators and that we have created our realities for our experience, for our journey here on earth. And our journey is to realize we're part of the one, we're all one.
Yeah, and there's so many ways we can do that, can't we? And I know, obviously when we connect to each other, that's obviously a form of oneness. But what's really cool as well, and you would have, really evidential proof of this, Wendy, is that because you do, communicate with animals, you can have that really felt experience of communicating with animals. So how does that allow you to feel more oneness?
Well, it just helps me realize that there's always information. Information is always flowing to us, flowing through us, but we can only grasp what we're a vibrational match with. So by being able to match the vibration of the animal, then I can communicate with the animal. And it's exciting to think that maybe as I match my vibration to other people, I could communicate in that level. And I think that's exactly what channeling is we're matching a vibration and we're bringing forth the information through that vibration. So it's with the animals, it just reminded me that it's all connected.
Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it? How there's so many ways we can connect to oneness. And connecting to one another. Of course, we connect via verbal means and non-verbal communication, but of course, we connect to one another non-verbally and what you may call as psychically. And we usually do that when we're not aware of it, like in our dream state, we visit, the multiverse. And we can communicate. And there is many times when you might wake up and you have had a conversation with someone and that really existed. Perhaps, your conscious awareness state might not remember that, but this often happens. And now the time of Great Awakening is that the veil is becoming very thin and we are starting to, remember this connection with our brothers and sisters, with each other. And, we're already practicing that, when we send love to someone, for instance, when we even send love to a country or a situation, we are bridging that, that illusion of duality. We are bridging that together into oneness, into love. And, people might think, oh, you're just sending love is, it's not really doing anything, but it's an energy. It's you connecting your heart with someone else or with a situation. And what's really cool is that you can practice, oneness in action. There are many universal laws that tie into law of one. And law of reflection is one very powerful law. So, everything that we see in our reality is a reflection of us. And all others are a reflection of us. Everything we see in our reality is a reflection of our vibration. We are source. We are projecting this reality, because, our frequency, we have soul contracts. So our reality matches to that. It matches to our belief systems. And, there's many of us playing in this game of life together. Makes it very, very interesting and very, very unique because as Source manifested, we wanted to explore ourselves uniquely as different frequencies, unique frequencies of Source. And, and I've been able to do this. I don't know if, Wendy, you've had experience this, but you can change a situation in the moment by not even saying one word. And this can give you proof that everything is a reflection of you. You can be in a situation, perhaps with another person, and maybe the other person is in a state of fear, a state of anger, a state of sadness. And if it triggers you, you know that they are actually reflecting a limiting belief within you. So basically, they are your master teacher and they're showing you a gift. They're actually allowing you the opportunity, because you are so highly advanced, to recognize that there is something within you that you haven't united within yourself. And it's not about seeing limiting beliefs as wrong. They are part of you. It's about accepting your limiting beliefs, beliefs that, that stem from fear and duality and separateness. And once you're in a situation, you are triggered, once you can realize that there is something in you that you haven't united within yourself, that you haven't accepted within yourself, and that you can see that other person is coming out of love, then you can see that situation change. And I've done that in the moment without even saying a word. When it was like, like for instance, a fear-based scenario, and just by me doing my inner dialogue and changing my perspective, it just fizzled out on its own. So you can actually do this with, other people in your life and situations in your life. Have you had experience with this, Wendy? How you've been able just to change your vibration and you see things change as a result?
Yes, I have. And it's so interesting because I've caught myself almost going into the situation and then caught myself and thought, well, wait a minute. I don't have to choose this. I can choose this to be different, and then switching it up and having it, like you said, just totally change. And I think now everybody's becoming so much more aware of we are energy, and we do exchange energy with other people throughout the day, in our dreams. thinking about them through thoughts. A lot of people don't realize you can connect with people simply through your thoughts. And you may not think, oh, well, just because they don't pick up the phone and call you because you're telling them to call you, you're still connecting on some level. On some level, they're receiving something from you. And that's exciting, especially with what's going on in America right now with all the protests and everything, to just be able to, you know, think that peacefulness into reality by just myself, my thoughts that I'm thinking, choosing the thoughts, the peaceful thoughts. And when people are saying, oh, well, this is terrible, what do you think about that? Not getting caught up in the drama and jumping on the bandwagon or whatever, and trying to just keep myself in that centered place, knowing that it's all for a purpose, it's all for our expansion and extension, and, you know, that's a good thing. So I don't know. I think it's exciting.
It is. And I can see, especially events, what's happening, you know, all around the world, actually, and not just what's happened with the protests, but also what's happened, you know, with coronavirus and other events that has happened, like the bushfires. These are events that we actually wanted to go through. It's part of our collective soul contracts. And if you can kind of be in the observer mode, you can actually see how it is bringing us together. You know, whereas maybe in the past, we kind of ignored it, but now you can see that all the country is uniting, you know, for this purpose. We are coming together. We might be sending love, you know, I mean, people, you know, take actions in the way that they think is best. And, you know, some of these actions you might maybe perceived as unwanted. It depends on your perception, but you know, there's already been changes taking place all over the world, in Australia as well, because of what happened in America. It instigated a lot of things, a lot of changes in our society to become more one, to create more unity. And it's about changing our perspectives to everything is right. And it might be hard to perceive that, because how can things be right? But this is the concept of right or wrong, good or bad, black and white, darkness and light, evil, good. It is a concept of duality. And we as a collective have chosen to expand through duality. So understand that duality isn't wrong. You know, if you have negative thoughts, if you are in fear-based, you're living in from a fear-based perspective, if you really believe in good and evil, it's okay, because this is duality. But understand that it is part of the illusion of physical reality. Who we truly are is oneness. And oneness means that in higher truth, all is neutrality, but we as a human collective, due to certain programs we chose to explore, the way we kind of pass through and unite duality is through love, the frequency of love. So this is a paradigm that humanity want to explore life in. So we wanted to experience joy. And this is why, by focusing on things that bring you joy, you can actually heighten your frequency, and that actually allows you to connect to who you are, you know. And what we see as unwanted in our society, that is actually a reflection of our consciousness, because everything in our society is actually a reflection of us. So if you want society to come more together, if you want the world to come more together, then we need to unite all aspects of us within. For when we unite all aspects of us, as in we accept all parts of ourselves, and if we can get to a point of even loving all parts of ourselves, that actually creates a ripple effect, and then you'll manifest a reality where, you know, there will be unity consciousness, because we are united within ourselves, you know, like the Hermetic principle, as above, so below, so as within, so without. So it's really true. And once you can kind of understand that everything is a reflection of us, you can actually detach a lot more to what's going on in your world, and understand that this is just a reflection of the collective consciousness, because the collective is moving more into oneness. So because we're going through a lot of changes in our consciousness, that is automatically going to be reflected and manifested in our greater society. So basically, if you want to know what's going on within the consciousness, just look in your reality. That's your clue.
Yeah. That's very true. And I think when you were talking about the duality, it's, you know, a biblical term, you know, our beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's all on the meaning that we give each situation. What's wanted to you may be unwanted to me, and vice versa. What I think is good, you may think is bad. So it's all on how we perceive it. And if we can get to that point of neutrality, where it's not good or not bad, it just is, that's when I feel like we'll ultimately come together into this oneness, because there's no more give and take and pulling against each other, because we've all come to this point of neutrality, if that makes sense.
That's right. And in high truth, that's what it is. There is no good or bad, it's neutrality. But, you know, because we are humans and we are attached to duality, if you can use that frequency of love, that will help you to unite and help to bring what we perceive as separateness together as one. And, you know, you can actually see this in our reality. You know, have you ever seen, you know, like sacred geometry, how that reflects certain things, like in our DNA, for instance? Have you seen an image of a lung and then see, you know, the bronchioles of the lung, and then you see the tree, you know, how it matches? You know, it's not by accident. You know, there's all these beautiful things. You know, our pupil, our eyes, it looks very much like if you look at a nebula, you know, how it's the same. It's not by accident. You know, we have energy centers, chakras. Well, guess what? So does Gaia. So does the earth, energy portals. So you can use these little clues in our very environment to see how we are one and the same. You know, the ratio between, you know, how much water we have in our bodies is very similar to the water that's on Earth. You know, so you can see as well. And, you know, with the moon, you know, how it affects the tides of the ocean. Guess what? How many of you are affected by the full moon? Huh? Me. And I know a lot of you are, because, you know, we are affected by water because we are all connected, you know. And it's not just with humans, you know, like we are one with humans. And, you know, if you're sensitive enough, you can communicate what you might call telepathically or energetically. And, you know, I do this. I know, Wendy, you're a Reiki therapist too. You know, we can send, you know, distance Reiki to someone, because there's no such thing as time and space. It doesn't matter where you are, we can send energy. But even like, because we're both channels, even beings of the light, even beings that we see as external to us, they are also reflections of us. And that, you know, that's what the beings of the light always relay, is that because we're attached to duality consciousness, the universe, us, source manifested, they're coming through as external beings, right? Or external situations, to honor our belief systems, to honor our dimensional existence in duality. So that's why they come as separate, like angels and so forth. But in higher truth, they are actually source. They are actually us, you know. So as you move further to oneness remembrance, there'll be no need to, you know, connect with external forces, because everything is actually us.
Always there.
And it's really exciting to know that we actually have this power, because I know through, you know, social conditionings, you know, even some, you know, religions and so forth, and it's just our society, we have been conditioned that we're not worthy, you know, and that we need to have a higher force, and this higher force, you know, we're not worthy of this higher force, but we are that higher force. We are actually God manifested. So imagine that power if we were taught that. You know, if we knew and we believed we are worthy to be God, how different our world would be. But you know what? We wanted this. We wanted this amnesia, you know, to forget who we are. And it's really exciting. And even though there's a lot going on this year, it's, you know, it's allowing us to let go of these programs to reevaluate our life. It's allowing us to go inwards, to connect more with family and friends, to see what's more important in our life, to find our passions again. And it's really allowing us to unite more to oneness. Very exciting.
It is very exciting. And I think it's taking us, you know, we're basically on a journey of self-discovery, right? I'm here to discover Wendy. And there's many aspects, layers, dimensions, whatever, however you want to call it, that's Wendy. But I'm now chosen this path on earth to discover Wendy in a physical form, which is source in a physical form through my unique expression. And that's just, I mean, what else would you want to do? I mean, to me, that's just pretty darn exciting that that's what we're here to do. And if you get yourself to that point, for me anyways, if I can get myself to that point, I realize that yes, everything is perfect because it's all part of my discovery. I wouldn't be going on hiking on a trail and say, oh, that tree shouldn't be there and that rock shouldn't be there. You know, it's like it's all the discovery as I come upon these things. It's simple, not easy.
And that's exactly right. We're explorers. And I know a lot of people might find their life experience hard. And, you know, when we go through what we call, you know, a spiritual awakening, I guess, we start to see what's behind the veil and we start to question a lot of things. And we might feel like we don't want to be here, you know, sometimes. And we actually wanted this. And I know things seem tough at times for a lot of people that's going through the awakening stages, especially people going through the current purge at the moment. So a lot of programs of duality and fear are kind of being purged to the surface for us to address. And this is happening for the collective. So depending on your level of soul work and your inner work, it depends on where you are with that. And we actually wanted this. We actually wanted the challenges. We wanted our soul contracts. And you might ask, why would we want this? But we are source. We wanted this. We wanted this experience. We wanted to experience life in many different forms, in many different realities, many different dimensions. You know, we are existing here right now as humans, but we're much more than humans. We are living in this life. We are living in many dimensions as a human being at once. And we're also living in many different dimensions in other bodies and other planets and other universes. Like who we are is much more than we can comprehend even. Yeah. I mean, I've received a lot of information, you know, through channeling and so forth, but even then, you know, I'm only human here and I can only perceive it a certain amount because, you know, we are starting to remember more of oneness, but who we truly are is far beyond what we believe ourselves to be. We are truly limitless. And you might think, well, I'm not limitless because I might not be able to walk through walls just yet. And I can't do this and I can't do that. But, you know, if you can connect to the oneness state within, then you might be able to walk through walls, maybe not in the illusion of physical reality, but you can travel the multiverse. You know, you can do all this when you connect to that oneness, a unity consciousness. You know, many of you probably had experiences when you do your meditations, how you can tap into certain abilities perhaps, but you know, it's going to come to a stage where we can tap into all these abilities and not be in meditation or not in our sleep state. You know, this gives us clues of our power, but we are much more like, I don't know if you've done any exercises, but I know like the beings of the light have done some exercises where, you look at your hands, you know, relax your hands and you might be able to see the energy, you know. Oh, yeah. Who we are is energy. And if you can relax your eyes, you know, focus on the sensations, you'll be able to see your physical makeup as energy vibrating. You know, you're looking at the table, this is energy. Everything is energy. It's actually source code. So once you can have more awareness that everything in our reality is energy, it is just matching our frequency, you can start to feel more limitless and more powerful, that we are the God creators here, you know. And when we engage in creativity, we become the God creator and we can create our own dimensions, you know. That's how powerful we are. And we have the power that you can create dimensions in fear or in love. It is up to you. What do you prefer?
Yeah. And getting rid of, well, we were probably always going to have these human constraints. We are in a human life form. There's only, you know, certain things we can and can't do. But I think as we evolve, as humans evolve, I think walking through the walls, like you say, will be commonplace, because we'll get to a point where we'll be able to adapt our physical bodies into the energy or manipulate the energy to be able to do something like that. That'd be fun.
And the dimensions where that exists is already out there in the multiverse. Right. So us that already has these abilities, walking through walls and you know, beam me up Scotty into another location, that already exists in the multiverse. So as we as a collective move more into oneness, we will attract that dimensional reality into the collective, you know, one step at a time. So it's already out there. And I know there's probably people out there watching, listening to this that probably has abilities like this already, you know. So it's like what happens is that we're all connected to collective consciousness. So, you know, many of us have abilities, and we are moving more to love as opposed to moving towards fear. So as the majority moves more to oneness and unity consciousness, it's like we reach a tipping point in the collective. And then as a collective, as a whole, we move to a whole new, it's kind of like a new dimensional vortex. And then as the collective moves into this new dimensional vortex, then there'll be new dimensions, like what we perceive as individual dimensions that we get to explore. So it's like we get to have our own exploration, but then if enough of us can get to that tipping point, the whole collective moves with it. So basically, if you want to change the world, basically, if you just do your own inner work and your soul work, guess what? You are actually affecting the collective consciousness, and you are creating more unity consciousness in conscious awareness, remembrance. So that's pretty powerful, that we can actually affect and we can actually change the world by just going within. But some people think, oh, how can I do that? It's just me. But like you said, Wendy, you know, all that is and oneness is not oneness without us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's powerful. If you think about it. I mean, sometimes I do just that. I just sit and think about it, and it's just, it's so powerful, and it feels so right. You know what I mean? It's like, I know when I'm thinking like that I'm on the right track, because it feels so right. It resonates deep within me that this is exactly what you were saying, where we're all coming together, and it's just the tipping point once that happens. But then there'll be, just like with our own inner work, once we figure out one layer, then like we were talking earlier, the deeper layers come in on that same issue, and you thought you had processed that and worked through it. So it has to be momentum has to be moving in that direction.
And, you know, we are moving in that direction as a collective.
Yeah.
And at times it may not feel like that because of certain events in our society, but we as a collective chose to expand through duality, and duality means contrast, right? So if you can see the contrast as a propeller, you know, as a catalyst, you know, so if you experience fear, it kind of catalyzes us to go inwards and then propels us, you know what I mean? So if you kind of see it as just a mechanism and it's just a program of the human collective, that's how we expand. So understand that it's not about, you know, pushing away fear-based emotions or thoughts or seeing them as wrong. It's actually about embracing them. Yes, there may be feelings that you do not prefer to have, but it's your perception of it. And if you see certain feelings and emotions and situations, conditions of society as wrong, you are creating further resistance, and you are creating further separation and duality, which means if you have these perspectives, the dimension that you reside in will reflect more of that duality consciousness. So if you want to remember more of oneness, remembrance, it's about us doing the work to see everything within us, everything in our society is right for us. We may not be able to understand how it is right and it is for us. But if you can just get to the point where you know it's for your highest good and to accept it, you might not be able to see the higher lesson in it in this moment. It might take, you know, some soul work on you focusing on it for you to get that, the lesson there. But if you can just see it as a higher lesson for your highest good, for your expansion, you can release that resistance, and then you bridge more oneness within yourself. And, you know, we're always doing this work because we as a collective are attached to duality. So as long as we're attached to duality, we're always going to be triggered by fear, you know. And we as a collective are moving towards that tipping point where we are, I mean, we're already living in oneness dimensions. And this is why in our conscious remembrance, we're basically, because we are living in oneness dimensions, but because we're attached to duality still, we're in the process of letting this go. And this is why we see kind of like an in-between, like we're in a transition here. We might experience oneness, but yet we experience separation, and we see this still in our reality. So you can play a part in this, in moving the whole collective, by you seeing everything in your reality is happening for a higher reason. And if it's happening for someone else, understand that this is part of their soul contracts. If it's happening to you, it's because of your soul contracts. And, you know, you might not understand why this is occurring, but if you can stay with it and see that, you know, if you can see it as a gift, you will be able to find the gifts in it, or what you might call as a silver lining. You know, it's always there. It's just that when you're in the middle of things, sometimes you cannot see the higher perspective. You know, I mean, I've gone through things in my life and I could have stayed as a victim as that, but, you know, it actually empowered me. And you all have the power to go through things and allow it to empower you. And, you know, a lot of the times it will catalyze you, but that will force you to go inwards, you know, because sometimes we have so much amnesia. It's like the universe, which is actually us, wants us to go through things to catalyze us, so we are forced to go inward. So, you know what I mean? Like, otherwise we might just, like, it's fine as well if you don't have events in your life that catalyze you, but you'll find that especially the light workers and the way showers, they'll be, you know, more often than none, you're going to have events that will catalyze you to go inwards.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was, I was ill. I got ill. So it was like, it forced me to look within, because there were doctors never had any answers. You know, we tried everything and nothing worked. So that was you're right. That forced me to look within. And I think as we start understanding this oneness and the duality, and realizing that we are the ones, the humans are the ones that label things as good or bad. I mean, you don't have to do that. You can just experience it and allow it to wash through you, and let it, you know, run its course. Don't try to not feel it or not, you know, work through it. But that's for me where the magic is at, by allowing everything is, yes, we're in duality, but can I see everything as right and as neutral, instead of the drama where, oh, this is terrible, we can't let this happen, or, oh, it's a wonderful day. You know, there's so much push and pull, where if we can just stay in this calm center area of neutrality, feels good.
It does. And, you know, it takes soul work to do it, yes, you know, and
lots of work, layers of work.
And, you know, at times you might feel like it's too hard, you know. And I know we've been also conditioned to, if you have a negative emotion or negative thought, just push it away. Oh, think of a positive thought. Don't worry about that. Think of a positive thought. You can't ignore that. If it comes to you, it's there for a reason. It's showing you something. So if you just ignore it, it's still going to be there in your energy field, and it'll just trigger you in other situations. It'll still be there until you transmute it. And the only way for you to transmute it is to witness it and to address what the belief is there.
Right.
And, you know, it might not even be what you perceive as to be a real fear-based emotion. It could be something just like, oh, you know, you're seeing this person as separate than you. You know, you might be seeing this person as wrong, or you prefer a better condition. You know, it might be something very, very small, I guess. But, you know, we are very highly advanced beings, and especially if you have a very powerful life purpose, you know, you're going to be triggered. It could be something small, it could be just an annoyance, you know, that's still, you know, someone or something triggering a limiting belief within you. So if you can see that everything in our reality is a gift, and it's allowing us, you know, to see what we need to unite within ourselves. Because if you're triggered by something, there's something in you haven't united. There's something in your belief system, something in your perception that you are not accepting. So it's a gift, you know. So if you can see that as a gift, and you can be actually grateful for these moments, and the more you practice gratitude, then you'll find your frequency will increase, your vibration, and that activates your spiritual mainframe, you know, your divine blueprint, and then you'll actually have more, you know, activations of who you truly are, you know, your soul purpose. You'll be able to tune more into, you know, your divine psychic abilities. You'll be able to receive more guidance from the non-physical, whether it's direct guidance like from spirit guides, or it's what, you know, you might call as just your intuition. You'll be led more easily, you know, by doing this work. So it's very rewarding. And by you doing this inner work, you are not just helping yourself, right? Making yourself feel to align more in a state of joy and alignment with who you truly are, but you're also affecting the whole collective consciousness move to oneness unity. So how powerful is that?
It's mind-blowing if you think about it. I mean, it really is. And the whole part of transcending your emotions. And I know I was taught to not show negative emotion and to push it down and push it down and push it down. And now I realize that just how unhealthy that really is to do that, because that is just my inner being saying, hey, look, you've got a limiting belief around here. Do you want to deal with it now, or do you want to deal with it in 10 years when it's turned into a disease or, you know, a major issue? Versus we tend to like, oh, I can't, you know, no, I'm not going to get upset about that. Well, take a minute and see what's there for you, because usually there's quite a nugget from your inner being saying, hey, you have a limiting belief here. Let's work on it now before it gets out of control. And I think that's what a lot of people now, with everything that's going on in the world, are kind of, without knowing that's what they're doing, they're being kind of forced to look at things that they, oh, I never had time, or, you know, I can't look at that, or I'm too busy, or whatever. Now they've had to slow way down to speed up, right? And so they're being forced to look at things differently. And that, to me, is an exciting, you know, I know that the COVID's bad and there's been, you know, a lot of people have passed and all of that, but I also believe that it's a big push for humanity to take, you know, here you go, a big shove forward kind of thing, to start really taking a look at, you know, our purpose. Why are we here? What are we doing?
It's right. And, you know, you can look back on past historic events, and although in our human comprehension perspective, they might seem very tragic,
sure,
you know, but you'll find that a lot of things has happened as a result. Like, for instance, you know, with Hitler, after all that happened, the Declaration of Human Rights was created, you know. So if you can see the pattern in history, for instance, you can see how certain events happen to allow us to create more unity, you know, equality. So, yeah, you might think, okay, well, if we're one as a resource, why would we choose that for ourselves? And, you know, that's a whole nother subject, but, you know, with soul contracts, but, you know, we do choose when to die. We do choose to explore certain themes pre-birth. So know that everything is happening is for us and for the collective. And if you've chosen a very intense soul contract for yourself, well, it means you're very, very powerful.
Yes.
So just alone shows you that you are very powerful. And yes, it might be challenging, but it's there for you if you allow yourself to look at it, to go inwards, by allowing it to catalyze you, by you accepting everything and all your conditions, you can then find your true power. So that is oneness, uniting all aspects within yourself, because everything is a reflection of us. So instead of changing outside conditions, that's actually part of the illusion. If you want to have more favorable conditions in your society or in your personal life experience, first unite and love, accept all aspects of you, increase your self-worth and self-love in alignment, and then you'll see your reality change and shift to reflect your vibration. That's what oneness in action is. And we all can do this, you know. And, you know, from a higher perspective, you know, we are connected to one another, and not just here on earth, but to all life everywhere. We have it's like a heartbeat of creation. The beings of the light have called it, like a magnetic pulse, a magnetic energy that connects us to all that is. And we can tap into that, but we can only tap into that connection by going inwards and connecting to the heart center. You know, it's actually our heart center where it's basically a dimensional portal where we can connect, you know, energetically and in all different ways, like psychically and other, you know, non-conventional means, to other beings and to all other life, you know. And it's very exciting once you can delve and explore your heart center, because that's, and there's a lot of science around here about, you know, electromagnetic aspects of your heart, you know. So there were actually a lot of science about the power of your heart, but this magnetic energy, electromagnetic energy, it's actually much more than we can conceive, and it really does connect you to yourself, which is Wendy, which is all of us, right? And also multidimensional lives, you know, because we are living here and in many worlds and many dimensions at once. And if you practice this work and going inwards, you might be able to have glimpses of what you call as past lives or simultaneous lives. And it's very cool. And if you're sensitive enough and this comes to you, then it gives you even more like insight into how you are all connected. But sometimes those of you who like to explore, you know, the multiverse and so forth and past lives, sometimes you may perceive that who we are is more advanced in another timeline or in another world and so forth. So we don't see ourselves as worthy in this lifetime, or we wish we could be on this planet, wish we could be in this time, you know. But understand that there were stages of consciousness, stages of great awakenings. But no matter how advanced we think we are or we were in a perception of time, who we are right now is actually the more advanced we've ever been in vibration. Perhaps you may not be able to perceive it because of what's going on in our reality. So you think, how can we be advanced when we still harm one another and all these kind of things? But understand that it's happening for a reason. But who we are as Source manifested is more advanced right here than any other life we have lived or are living, you know. And once you can understand that all these other lives where we're very advanced, it's actually happening right now, and we can access this wisdom and this abilities from all these multidimensional lives in this life.
Yes.
If we're meant as part of our soul contracts, it'll basically be activated in this lifetime when you're ready for it, when you're vibrationally ready for it. And to be vibrationally ready for it is to do the soul work, the inner work, you know. Right. And once you can see more things from a perspective of oneness, then more oneness will be shown to you. You'll be able to see more of your lives, and all these so-called psychic abilities, as we like to call it, will actually come out, and all these abilities and knowings and wisdom, our intuition, what you call as intuition, guidance from the non-physical, that'll be more heightened and fine-tuned also.
That's exciting. I believe it's already all here. And like you said, it's just fine-tuning our vibration to be to the point where we can actually plug into it and feel it and know it, on a knowing. I think we know more than we give ourselves credit for, but we've just been so conditioned through this human life that, oh, that can't be, you get a thought, oh, that can't be real. Well, you're attracting those thoughts. So they must be real, and they must be from somewhere. And it just must be that we're not quite there vibrationally to truly understand it or take action with it, or whatever the case may be. But we just, it's coming, it's exciting. And the whole oneness aspect of it is, like you were saying, I get really tongue tied around all of this, because I get so excited that it is just that big, yet it is also just that simple.
It is. And you know, because we chose to expand through the human form, there are, you know, certain programs, I guess, to expand through, like universal laws. So they are all unique to the human experience, and we can practice like what we've been talking about today. These are little things that if we focus on, we can unite more to oneness. Mm-hmm. So it's already there. We're already united as one. We are already source manifested, but it's about changing our perceptions to us and to the world and to what the reality is. And then we can, you know, then attract a dimension where that oneness, remembrance already exists, because all dimensions is already within us. The whole universe is within us. Everything is a projection of us, of the one, of the source. So once you can see that you have the power, you can visit your multidimensional lives, you can do everything. And we do that in our dream state, because you know why? Because we have less resistance. Our programming, everything's done, and we can explore that more easily. But what if we can let go of all these resistance and conditionings? We'll be able to do all that in our awakened state. Mm-hmm. And this is, you know, what all this work is about. Mm-hmm. And you know, depending on what you came to explore, I understand that sometimes it's more intense. And there's another thing, because humanity is attached to time, space dimensions. You know, time is an illusion, but it is truth in the illusion of physical reality, right? So because of that, we've chosen to also expand through time. So there is a thing called divine time. So it calls on us to have a lot of patience. You know, we do this work and then we wish we could get to a certain point. Maybe we compare ourselves to other people and like, how come I don't have those abilities? How come I don't have awareness? But understand that everything is happening perfectly in divine time. Everything is aligning up to enact, you know, what you came to explore here, your abilities and so forth in the perfect time for you. You know, so you don't have to rush. There is no finish line. Just take one step at a time, but be in the present moment. If you want to experience oneness and unite all aspects of you, it is about living more in the present moment. Because what happens when you live in the past or the future, you are actually living in other dimensions of yourself. Some may be more limiting, right? Well, they are, if you're not living in the dimension of the present moment, all the dimensions are limiting for your human experience in the now, which means it's not aligned to your true power state, right? So if you can be in the present moment, you tap in more into the oneness presence. And yes, you may have, you know, other dimensions of past lives, future lives, simultaneous lives come to you in the present moment. But if that happens, it is for you. It's not to drill there, it's to understand and to explore the soul lessons there and the gifts there. But then it's to then bring it back into the present. So understand that if you can focus more on the present moment, you'll be able to further connect to who you truly are and the power of oneness.
Yeah, when you're saying that you were talking about programs too, something came to me that we're programmed to have human emotions, human pride or guilt or comparing ourselves with others, that we're not doing it fast enough or whatever. But when you're in that present moment, those conditions, those programmings don't exist, because you're in the present moment. And if you can continually stay in the present moment, there is no programming. There is no, because nothing has, you're creating it as you're going along. So as you're moving forward moment to moment, you're creating your reality, but your programming is kind of put aside because you're not focusing on what might happen in the future or what happened in the past.
That's right. And another thing with that, being in the present moment, is to be in the present moment, but be in the heart center. Because, you know, as another human program, we run on conditioning, you know, we run on habitual systems. A lot of our habits are based on conditioning and belief systems, and a lot of them are limiting. Well, that, you know, now if you do the work, you're changing those. So if those of you are doing the work, by now you probably have a lot of healthy and very highly, you know, limitless abilities, and you are now tapped more into your power. But by you dropping things more into the heart center, you kind of bypass those old programs, what we call old programs, those limiting conditions, because in your heart center, you're not basically attached to programs that is in your, you know, that outdated programs to say. In your heart center, you are always connected to your source self. You are connected to who you truly are in this moment. Not into habitual systems. You are connected to who you truly are. And who you truly are is always changing, because you are energy. And it is here in the heart center, by being in the present moment, you really can connect and hear the guidance, you know. So, and a lot of people, because of the human experience, put, you know, barriers up on the heart center, walls up. It's very common because we feel hurt, things have happened in our life. But true power in this time of a great awakening is actually to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable is scary, because if you're vulnerable, you can be hurt, you know, you can be seen for who you truly are. But it's through the vulnerability where you tap into more of your power, to more of the higher truth. So it's part of your shadow work, your soul work is always, it's really beneficial to focus on opening your heart center and being vulnerable.
Yeah, the vulnerability, the authenticity, being humble, you know, there's just all those things that I don't know about you, but I was taught that no, you know, you don't be vulnerable. You don't be humble and show your weaker side. You always, you know, stand tall or whatever. But yes, I'm really, really beginning to understand where the power and the vulnerability comes, and being authentic. To me, vulnerability says authenticity. I don't know, you know, other people might use it differently, but for me to be my authentic self is my vulnerable, humble self, just, you know, here to enjoy the journey and experience what I can experience and accept it all as being part of our growth, part of our expansion. And that is, to me, like the ultimate high to get to that point, you know, if that type of a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, at times, it depending on what you've gone through in your life experience, it might take some time to open your heart center and be vulnerable, and that's okay. It's just whenever you do your meditations, whenever you do your inner work, just focus on your heart center, you know, and it's in here in your heart center where you actually tap into more of your power, your felt power, not just thinking, oh yeah, I'm powerful, but you're able to feel it and connect to that oneness state, you know, because we are source, right? We are source. And source is basically an intelligence code that runs through us, runs through all that is, right? And everything is created with this source code. So we have that power within us. And to tap into that power is to tap into our heart center and to see as everything from a perception of acceptance, that everything is happening for you, for the highest good, even if you do not understand it in the moment.
Right.
That's what unity is, accepting everything. And we mean everything, all physical aspects, accepting all actions that you've done in your life, accepting, you know, even your thoughts, accepting feelings, everything, you know, because what happens a lot of the time, especially in the light worker community, you often judge your progress. Oh, I had an outburst, or I got sad, and then you have a sense of shame. Oh, I should be better than that. I've done the work. Why am I feeling like this, you know? But be gentle on yourself and be compassionate with yourself. You know, we are in this transitional phase, and it's okay if you have this emotion or this feeling. It's like, okay, I'm feeling like crap. It's okay. I accept it. There's a gift here, and I allow it and I embrace it in love, you know. And once we can do everything that comes up in the present moment, this is where true unity lies.
Yeah, that's very true. That being in the moment, moment. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's a good note to finish.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to cover before I finish it today, Wendy?
No, I feel pretty complete.
So yeah, oneness, you know, oneness is a very big topic. So, you know, we can go off into like oneness beyond the human experience, but we are human. So you can get caught up in what is oneness beyond the human experience. But for us to expand, for us to really understand oneness, to feel oneness is to, you know, explore oneness from the human experience.
Right.
To explore it in a practical way that we can actually use oneness, and ways that we can actually feel unity within ourselves, you know. And, you know, sometimes we're like, well, how else can I bridge, you know, if we're all one and all is perfect, there might be some sense, or how do I show compassion to someone? How do I, you know, all these kind of things. But that's it, you know. If you want to be in the human experience and understand everything is neutral, but everything's happening for a higher reason, if you act on and express feelings of love like compassion, then you are still, you know, sharing your heart center. You are still connecting to oneness, and you are still connecting to another being, to another situation, but from a human perception. Okay, so yes, we are one, we are source, we are all also human. So, you know, you can use feelings and emotions like compassion to bridge the oneness and unity with the human experience, for instance. So for instance, if there are people, you know, if you're going through situations where it might seem as wanted, you know, use compassion on yourself and your emotions and your feelings. If there's other things happening in your society that perhaps triggers you, or perhaps, you might see as you might want to change the conditions, then, send compassion, connect with compassion. That's a human emotion, an emotion of love, and it also helps unite humanity in oneness. That's a very powerful, I guess, a human program that allows us to unite as well. So yeah, go out and experiment and explore, use the law of reflection in action, connect, connect with your animals. Even if you may not be able to communicate with your animals, you often, especially with your pets, you can feel the love, and that really helps to connect to oneness, connect to the trees, connect to nature, because as above, so below, guess what? All nature is also part of us, so if you connect to the ocean, depending where you're living in the world, if you want to connect to the oceans or the trees or so forth, by doing that, you're actually connecting to you. So it's a pathway to connect to you. So you can do that as well. So in many ways you can play around here. And then once you can do all your inner work, then, you can play around and try connect psychically to the human folk, experiment here, because we are that powerful and we all have those abilities, but we need to believe we're worthy of it, which is very important, that we are powerful beings. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining, Wendy. And Wendy, where can people find you?
You can email me at Wendy Pierce, Pierce global @gmail.com, or I have a Facebook group called Attracting Wellbeing, Living the Law of Attraction. You can reach me there. And I love these conversations. So if anybody just wants to reach out and have a conversation, I'm available.
Wonderful. And for those who want more information about me, just jump over to beingsofthelight.com. I invite you to join my Facebook community, Beings of the Light with Kimberley community. We also have a private Facebook group, which is the Beings of Light with Kimberley Ascension Teachings in Focus. Come explore there. I have a Patreon community where you can engage in exclusive content. And of course, you can see all the offerings on the website. So everybody, go experiment and go play in this playground that we have created for ourselves. Know that we wanted it all because we wanted expansion. Even what we see as unwanted and wanted, we wanted it all. We wanted the human experience. And guess what? Because we wanted the human experience, we are very highly advanced beings. Basically, everyone that's living right now on Earth is highly, highly advanced beings. Only the advanced beings can be here right now in this time of great awakening. So just by you being here, living and breathing in this timeline, it means, guess what? You are very highly advanced, and you're on the way to remembering that for yourself.
Yes, you are worthy, and enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. It's supposed to be enjoyed. Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again for joining, Wendy, and thank you everyone who's watching or listening to this. Until next time, love and light. Farewell. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mystical Musings with Friends. To find more info about myself and how to reach out to me about this podcast, please see the episode details. Remember, you are never alone on your journey, for you are one with all that is.